Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro officially launched Friday a new management system called 1 for 10 of Good Governance, which, according to the dignitary, intends to empower the Venezuelan people more. Russia's defense ministry announced on Saturday that its forces destroyed a large Western arms shipment in northwestern Ukraine using long-range missiles. Australia's opposition leader Anthony Albanese claimed a victory Saturday in national elections. Hi, this is From the South. I am your news anchor, Diego Martin, from the teleSUR studios in Havana. We begin with the news. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro officially launched on Friday the new management system called 1 for 10 of Good Governance. The new strategy has been already applied successfully as a political tactic and will now be implemented to bring the management of all levels of government closer to the people's power, according to the executive's speech. The president explained that it is a civil-military police operation in coordination with local and regional authorities, as well as the powers that make up the national state. Maduro said the system is a new level of technological and human connection to attend to the real problems of the people, to prioritize their concerns and provide them with a real-time response, real-time solutions to the problems of public service and of the communities.
In the name of a collective, the high political military command of the revolution, I officially present a plan for a new government, the 1 for 10 of the new government, of the good government. And I ask you to take note. Let us take it very seriously. Let us subordinate ourselves to the 1 for 10 of the good government, civilians and military. Let us subordinate ourselves to the new commands, to the new schemes, and to the new policies. 4 years after the great victory of May the 20th, the time has come for a good government, for a new government, for a better way of exercising popular and political power.
In this context, the Venezuelan head of state called on all government agencies to incorporate the new government style.
That we deploy from today, in the coming hours, in the coming days, to explain, to inform, to saturate the whole Venezuelan society with truthful information, so that we can all join this plan of a new government, of a new way of governing, of the attention and solution of the problems of the people, who in the end are the center of our life, of our existence.
The Venezuelan government completed on Saturday a new repatriation flight of migrants from Peru within the framework of the social program Return to the Homeland. 264 Venezuelans boarded an aircraft of the national airline Conviasa at the Jorge Chavez International Airport in Lima to return to their country on the third flight of the government program from Peru so far this year. The Return to the Homeland program, named after a poem by the famous Venezuelan writer Juan Antonio Pérez Bonalde, has returned home more than 29,000 Venezuelan migrants from 21 countries. A total of 25 American countries questioned the upcoming Summit of the Americas after the exclusion of several nations by the United States. The President of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, as well as his peers from Bolivia, Luis Arce Catacora, and Guatemala, Alejandro Yamatei, rejected the exclusion of Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua from the meeting by the United States, saying they will not attend if all the countries of the region are not included. Leaders of the 15-nation Caribbean community said they did not agree with the decision of U.S. President Joe Biden, but have not dismissed their participation in the meeting. Meanwhile, the Mexican dignitary affirmed that he will not give up his efforts to reach an agreement that will allow all countries to attend. And in Colombia, Ingrid Betancourt withdrew from the electoral race as a presidential candidate while expressing her support to the independent candidate Rodolfo Hernández for May 29th elections. The journalist, who was kidnapped 20 years ago while campaigning for the presidency of the South American country and who was held captive for more than 6 years by the rebel group known as the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, expressed her decision during a press conference in Barranquilla in the northern region together with Hernández. Betancourt ran on the ballot of her own organization, the Environmentalist Party, focusing strongly on anti-corruption. However, her candidacy never really took off, and according to polls, less than 1% of Colombians intended to vote for her. Colombia is the third most displaced country on the planet, as revealed by the Observatory on Internal Displacement and the Norwegian Refugee Center. 5.2 million Colombians were forced to leave their homes due to violence. Our correspondent Viviana Bello brings us the details.
Violence against farmers, indigenous and Afro-Colombian communities, especially against human rights defenders as well as former FARC fighters, places Colombia in third place in the world with the most internally displaced persons.
Around 89% of the victims have suffered from this situation. The second thing is that the departments of the Pacific Coast, as well as the border with Ecuador and Venezuela, are the areas most affected by forced displacement. And the third thing is that the humanitarian situation in Choco calls my attention. In approximately 10 years, 175,000 people were displaced in 100% of the municipalities, and especially in the regions of Baudó, San Juan, and Atrato.
The slow implementation of the peace agreement has allowed the civilian population to remain at the disposal of paramilitary structures, FARC residual groups, and agents of the security forces, who are also accused of serious human rights violations.
This situation, unfortunately, has some origins and some consequences for the failure of the national government to the situation and the implementation of the peace agreements, which allowed to change the living conditions, the forms of production, and others.
The border zone, the Pacific and the south of the country are the regions of Colombia where most displacement situations persist.
In January, for example, Arauca and north of Santander registered displacements due to disputes between armed actors. Also displacements of people coming from Venezuela, where Colombian groups have entered to break into their territories. The invasions and displacements not only affect the communities' departure from their territory or of people when they are displaced in particular, but also affect their way of life.
The majority of displaced persons are children. Colombia is second only to Syria and the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Viviana Bello, teleSUR, Bogotá, Colombia.
We're going to take a short break now. Please join us again after this. Hi, and welcome back to From the South. The Constitutional Court of Ecuador rejected President Guillermo Lazo's total veto on the reforms to the organic law and intercultural education approved by the Congress. The court dismissed the objections of the executive included in the presidential veto, by which the President of the Republic nullified the legal provisions granting retirement benefits as well as a salary increase of up to 75% to teachers. The magistrates were able to verify that the Presidency of the Republic had not provided solid arguments on the unconstitutionality of the norm and found that, prior to its approval and in a reasonable, acceptable manner, the Congress conducted a relevant financial feasibility analysis on its impact on public finances. Leonidas Issa, president of the Confederation of Indigenous Nationalities of Ecuador, announced the call to a mobilization of indefinite period against Guillermo Lazo's government.
We are sending an invitation in a respectful and, above all, firm manner to a mobilization that will begin in June. We will announce the exact date on Tuesday, May 24th. We will go and take part of an indefinite mobilization that we will coordinate with all popular sectors, organizations, citizens, all at the national level. We invite the organizations, the unions and syndicates, housewives, students, professors, everyone who can partake in the fight against the national government's neoliberal policies.
South African and U.S. tycoon Elon Musk made a surprise business trip to Brazil on Friday. There he met with President Jair Bolsonaro and with representatives of key sectors of the economy. Our correspondent Brian Meyer has more on it.
The world's richest man, Elon Musk, made a surprise visit to Brazil where he met with far-right President Jair Bolsonaro and a group of powerful businessmen and women from across the country in sectors like high-tech, agribusiness, and mining. Now, it's rumored that he struck a huge deal for nickel, which is a component of the batteries he uses for his Tesla automobiles, with Valley Mining Corporation, a corporation which is responsible for massive devastation of the Amazon rainforest, including the Carajás Railway. Officially, the purpose of his visit was to help Bolsonaro save the Amazon rainforest, which has been burning down at record rates since he took office in 2019. Musk offered, in exchange for his own surveillance purposes of the rainforest, low-altitude satellites that would help the Brazilian government monitor deforestation. The Brazilian government already has the technology to monitor this deforestation, but Bolsonaro cut the program by over 80% and fired its directors after they started reporting on the massive increases in deforestation, which his government has encouraged, especially through incursions into indigenous reservations. So the question that many people are asking is, what is Musk offering Bolsonaro in return? The idea of connecting a couple thousand schools in remote areas to the internet doesn't seem equal to what he's going to get out of these exclusive rights to surveilling the rainforest. Many people are worried that he's offered Bolsonaro technical support in his re-election through support in high-tech, big data analysis, and use of social media apps, which is one of the strategies that Steve Bannon and his group helped the Bolsonaro family use illegally with the WhatsApp application in 2018 after the leading candidate was arrested on frivolous charges. So the arrival of Musk is a warning about the integrity of this year's upcoming presidential elections, where the government has already rejected an offer by a European Union election observer. On Friday, the world's richest man.
And after that, we're moving on to Ukraine. Russia's defense ministry announced on Saturday that its forces destroyed a large Western arms shipment in northwestern Ukraine using long-range missiles. Russian Defense Ministry spokesman Major General Igor Konashenkov informed that high-precision, long-range, sea-launched caliber missiles destroyed a large batch of weapons and military equipment sent by the United States and the European Union near the Malin Railroad Station in the Zhytomyr region. The officers said that 77 command centers, along with military equipment and troops, were destroyed and neutralized in 602 areas, including a training base of the Ukrainian Army's Special Operation Forces. Konashenkov also reported that Moscow's troops shot down one Su-25 plane of the Ukrainian Air Force and 14 drones. In the midst of the conflict in Ukraine, NATO countries are considering the possibility of sending more weapons and military assistance, this time to Moldova. The statement was made by the United Kingdom's Foreign Affairs Minister Liz Truss. She argued that the measure would help Moldova defend itself from an alleged potential Russian invasion. The British officials said that NATO member countries are pondering the thought heavily. If approved, NATO countries would be supplying Moldova with modern weapons and instructors to teach Moldovan soldiers on how to use them. According to the Moldovan constitution, the country maintains neutrality, although since 1994 it has been cooperating with NATO on the grounds of an individual partnership action plan. And Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan and Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev will meet Sunday in Brussels to continue a bilateral dialogue mediated by the European Council President Charles Michel Sidibe. The announcement was made by Belgium's Security Council Secretary Armin Grigorian. At the meeting, the leaders will discuss work mechanisms for the Commission, which will be defining border limits and security, following a claim by Azerbaijani Defense Ministry of a bombardment occurred on May 19th, launched from Armenia against Azerbaijani border army posts. This development came as Armenian Foreign Ministry spokesman Yahan Hunayan rejected statements from Baku about Yerevan having twice failed to attend previously scheduled meetings on demarcation. The World Health Organization confirmed on Saturday 80 cases of monkeypox in at least 11 countries. According to the international organization, another 50 cases are still being investigated. The entity indicated that they are working with affected territories to monitor the disease and support people who may be affected. The countries that reported cases in the last week are Germany, Spain, Italy, France, Belgium, Sweden, United Kingdom, United States, Canada, Australia, and Portugal, the latter being the most affected with a total of 23 infected cases after reporting 9 cases in the last 24 hours. The first infection of monkeypox registered on the continent was reported in the United Kingdom on May 7th. On Saturday, North Korean authorities reported almost 220,000 people with fever and that there's been a new death as a consequence of the latest COVID-19 outbreak reportedly started 9 days ago. According to the North Korean Central News Agency, an estimated 219,000 North Koreans with fever have been identified in the past 24 hours, which increases the number of infected people to 2.46 million. In this context, the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un held a meeting with the Politburo of the ruling Workers' Party to discuss strategies in the war against the epidemic and asked to optimize the prevention policy. Strict confinement is being maintained throughout the country, and the Army has deployed its doctors to all pharmacies in Pyongyang to ensure a 24-hour supply of medicine. We have more news coming up after a final short break. Please stay with us. Hi and welcome back. Australia's opposition leader Anthony Albanese claimed victory Saturday in national elections. Voters delivered a sharp disapproval to the centre-right government of Prime Minister Scott Morrison, ending 9 years of Conservative rule in favour of the centre-left opposition that promised stronger action on climate change. Australian Labor Party leader Anthony Albanese appeared certain to form a minority government, though it was unclear as counting continued if the party would have enough seats for a majority. The results gave at least 74% of the seats to the Labour Party against 55% that went to the Conservative coalition of current Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, who had been in office since 2013. After the figures were released, Morrison contacted Albanese to acknowledge his victory and congratulate him after a strong race.
Tonight, the Australian people have voted for change. I am humbled by this victory, and I'm honoured to be given the opportunity to serve as the 31st Prime Minister of Australia.
Cameroon celebrated on Friday the 50th anniversary of its Unity Day. The last parade was held in 2019. Now, in a rare public appearance, 89-year-old head of state Paul Biya presided over the civil and military parade. President Paul Biya, rumored to be in bad shape after 40 years of absolute power in Cameroon, attended the celebrations of the 50th anniversary of the end of federalism, which distinguished the French-speaking and English-speaking parts of the country. Officers and schoolgoers marched holding flags and banners which read, "Let us all support a strong Cameroon committed to its national unity." Half a century ago, British Southern Cameroons and French Cameroons reunified to form the United Republic of Cameroon. And this year's celebration were under the theme Defense and Security Forces at the Service of the People for the Preservation of Social Peace and National Cohesion. And in Cuba on Saturday, the popular exercise Meteoro 2022 begins with the aim of reducing the risks of natural, technological, and sanitary disasters. The annual activity plans to last until Sunday, May 22nd, and will emphasize the risk reduction, rescue, and salvage plans considering the epidemiological situation resulting from the pandemic caused by the COVID-19. The exercise includes the evaluation of the forecast of the cyclonic, the hurricane season in the Atlantic until the end of November, allowing to update the plans for the confrontation of natural disasters in the island. The activity also evaluates firefighting and involves the deployment of the population and all state agencies and institutions. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel highlighted the importance of the popular exercise Meteoro 2022 as a preventive mechanism to save lives. On his Twitter account, the Cuban president posted, "Today starts the popular exercise Meteoro 2022, where we will evaluate the hurricane season forecast, which begins on June 1st, as well as the behavior of COVID-19. Martí said, "In foreseeing lies the art of saving." In northern Michigan, United States, a tornado hit and killed at least one person and injured about 40. On Friday, a rare tornado hit the small community of Gaylord, Michigan, a town of 4,200 people. The weather phenomenon caused considerable damage, overturning vehicles, tearing roofs off buildings, knocking down trees, and blowing down power lines. Several homes and businesses were affected as well. Michigan police confirmed the death of at least one person and said in a tweet that more than 40 people resulted injured and are receiving treatment at area hospitals. In Bangladesh, 2 million people stranded by the most severe floods in decades are left in northeast Bangladesh. Rivers bursted and caused the worst flash floods in the country in 2 decades. Floodwater rushing from northeast India submerged at least 100 villages at Zakinaj, Bangladesh. According to the government administration of the Sylhet region, at least 57 people died and around 2 million marooned by the rising waters. Water has made its way in many parts of the Sylhet city, the largest in the northeast, where 50,000 families had been without power for days. According to experts, climate change is increasing the probability of extreme weather events around the world. We've come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at teleSUR English. You can also join us on social media for all the latest news. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For teleSUR English, I am Dio Martin. Thank you for watching.